So tell us, how did you get into real estate?
Well, like I said, I was going the DPS route. That didn't pan out. And then I have some really good buddies of mine that I graduated high school with that I've stayed in touch with during my whole Air Force career. We just stayed close, and we'd always text back and forth. And I'd come home on leave. I'd keep chatting with them and come see them. But my buddy Evan, he was at College Station getting his degree at Texas A&M. And he got his real estate license, and he was doing some property management and all that out there. And my buddy Tyler, he was also in College Station. I think he was going to Blinn at that time. I don't think he ever went to, he didn't go to A&M, but he was getting his degree at Blinn. And at some point during the last 6 months to a year, right around the time I was also, like I said, I was debating on the DPS stuff. He had brought up the idea of getting into real estate, maybe us forming a team. So after the whole DPS thing didn't work out, he had asked me, do you want to try to get in real estate? We could form this team. He'd be the team lead because he, at that point, as soon as I had gotten out, I think he would have had around 3-4 years of experience with real estate. So that's what we did. I got out of the Air Force in November of 2017. And I got right into my real estate license, real estate course there at Champions in San Antonio. And started. Basically, what you do when you're getting your real estate license, there's 6 courses you have to take. And for me, because I didn't, I was out of the Air Force, I had a little bit of savings. I just knocked them all out at one time there at Champions in San Antonio. So two classes per week. So I got all those knocked out within 3 weeks, scheduled my test, had to go. For whatever reason, I did it. I don't even remember why. I know my wife was living in San Angelo at the time. Maybe this is partly why. But I went all the way to Midlands to take the test, stay with one of my military buddies out there. Took the test and found out, I think you find out basically, I think it was the day of, whether or not you pass or fail. So I found out I passed, which was great. I think it was like a 50% failure rate or something like that. Your first time taking it, because you do have to put some time and effort to it. You have to study. So I found out I passed. So at that point I already knew we're going to form this team together. So Evan, he called it. I think we called ourselves the EM Stall Real Estate Group. We were with Keller Williams at that time, and so it was the 3 of us. We had an office here in Fredericksburg. The KW office was on the east side of town. Now I think the Cozy Rentals or whatever is in that building. But the KW office was in that building. So we had our little team section in the very back of the building, and just started getting into it. But before I even got my real estate license, knowing I was getting into that, I started listening to podcasts like crazy. I definitely got obsessed with it, like figuring out how to kick this thing off. So I was listening to podcasts. I was reading all kinds of books, and so I think the transition from the military to real estate was not too bad for me, because again, going back to that work ethic and then doing whatever I could to learn how to get started with it. And Evan was a good team lead, kind of helping out. Hey, here's what you could do to get started and all that. But man, I definitely was obsessed with the idea of getting going quickly. So.
Well, I think to be successful at anything, that's what you have to do. The self-help books, the motivational podcasts, the real estate podcast, the building podcast, like anything that you can just saturate yourself with to be successful. Because there's tons of real estate agents out there. Just like there's tons of builders.
Right.
So you have to set yourself apart somehow. And, hard work takes you a long way, but if you can get educated in things too and learn along the way, man, that's the best way to do it. Yeah. So tell me, what was like your first deals like?
So my first year, I only did 4 deals my entire first year. Luckily at that time I was able to live with my grandparents in Kerrville, so I didn't have a whole lot of expenses. I did have a truck that I was paying for. I had a monthly payment getting out of the Air Force. I sold that, and then my uncle, who was, he had a lot of issues with drug and alcohol and all that over the years. So he had a vehicle he wasn't driving at the time because he just couldn't. He didn't have his license. So I drove his vehicle, and I was living at my grandparents' house. So to really try to keep my expenses down as much as possible. And I actually had a part-time job at a winery on the weekends. And I think my first 4 deals were all from people I met at the winery. Is William Chris here. Well, it's in High, but it might be good to have those guys on too. It'd be kind of cool that, they're one of the leading wineries here in our area, and maybe I'll ask them to be on too. But I worked that job for at least a year and a half, 2 years, just on the weekends. But any chance I had, the people coming in to drink wine, obviously I'd give the spiel about the winery, about the wine they're drinking, figure out where they're coming from, and somehow would bring real estate into the conversation. Sure. So I think my first 4 deals were all from people I met at the winery while serving wine.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's really cool, actually. But so you got 4 deals your first year.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel? Was like self-doubt creeping in? Like, were you wondering, should I be going down this route? I mean, because starting a business, because you're ultimately an entrepreneur. I mean, you have to go out and get it. So, how did you navigate that?
Yeah, it was, self-doubt, definitely came into the picture, but trying to just keep your nose down, and just keep plugging away and doing the things you're supposed to do. One of the things that, you're supposed to do on a daily basis in real estate, even when you're a team lead and a company owner, is make your phone calls, call the people we call it sphere of influence, call the people follow up with people who said, I'm thinking about buying, a house maybe 6 months from now. So following up with those people, and then also try to have 4 to 5 conversations with people you don't know. So, there was times like, golly, this is not kicking off as fast as I, would hope it to, because I got into real estate coaching pretty quick too, which definitely helps set, lay the foundation and get some systems in place and everything. But I'm also, I'm looking at some of these people that are in this Tom Ferry coaching, who are first year agents who have 20, 30 deals. I'm like, what the heck? What am I not doing right? So there was a little bit of that self-doubt, but for me, I just kept doing what I was supposed to do, with making my calls and a lot of door knocking. I know a lot of you guys probably hate when people come to your front door, but it's doing things like that, even cold calling around like a sold listing. I know y'all probably hate that too, where you just get a random call from somebody, hey, your neighbor just sold. Have you thought about selling? But that's what it's the things that you learn at the beginning of your real estate career that helps, like I said, kickstart you a little bit. But 4 deals in the first year was, that's not a whole lot. That's not a whole. And they were pretty small deals too.
Right. And I think you and I both didn't come from a rich background.
Nope.
And so bootstrapping a business on your own is completely different than like having generational real estate agents or generational builders or anything like that. You have to build this thing from the ground up, and it takes, unfortunately, the phone calls and the door knocking and stuff you don't want to do that other people hate, and but you got to figure it out somehow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, to be successful from something that you're starting from scratch is a totally different ball game.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I wanted to make the investment from the get go. Like I said, I sold my truck. I didn't have a house payment, all this stuff. So, the team and I, we went to a Tom Ferry event out in Miami. And, it was kind of like a sales type of event, but they were offering their coaching service during before, anytime you go on break, they're like, if you want to go sign up for coaching, go to the back. So I was like, I'm really curious about that. And I signed up. That was March of 2018. So like I said, I got licensed in January. That was in March. I signed up for coaching right away, and that was like a $600 a month commitment.
Ooh.
So I was getting coaching calls twice a month, but that coach who has 20, 30 years of experience is helping you set you up with the systems and all that stuff, and kind of help motivate you a little bit too. But accountability, that was a big part of it. It's just holding you accountable to do what you're doing, what you said you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.